Hello, and welcome back to the show from the Wheelhouse. Captain Jim Mescal here, and I brought as our guest a woman on the water, my good friend
Judy Jane, Jayne.
And Judy and I have known each other about 35 years, and she's got a lot of experience on the water, both with sailboats, power boats, in the Great Lakes, in the Caribbean. Didn't you do that river?
I just came back from the Viking River cruise, yes.
On the Rhine River and all that. So, I mean, she's really a very experienced one on the water. But first of all, I'd like to acknowledge my co-host and the star of the show, Captain Mark Stevenson. Yeah, he was unable to be here today. He's down in Texas, and he's a member of the Tony Robbins team. You know, he's a big believer in Tony. He's sort of like a life coach, and Tony had a real positive effect on Mark. Mark does that, walking on the coals and, with bare feet and all that kind of stuff, mind over matter. And we were just talking about it before the show, and Mike, the producer, was saying that I guess there were some lawsuits or something. People got their feet burned, and they were calling the fire department. So good luck to Mark, and hopefully you don't get your feet burned. So we'll kick off the show here. This is a live call-in show, as you know. Our number is right there. Don't be afraid of Cat, if you want to call in. And, let's start off, Judy, a little bit about, you got into boating when you were around 20. Well, first of all, you were raised on a pig farm.
I was raised in Minnesota,
yes. Minnesota on a pig farm. She never had to wear rouge on her cheeks because of the smell, Anyways, if you ever been around a pig farm. But, and then you came down to Chicago. You got a job down here, and you met some rich guy with a big sailboat. Right?
Yeah, I had a 45-foot Bristol. That's where I started my sailing experience, and sailed on 2 Macs and had some interesting events. Meatloaf flying at me out of the oven, but
and he was a pretty competent sailor, correct?
Oh yes, he had sailed many years. He was very good. So he taught me the basics, and I learned a lot from him. So that was my start in sailing world.
Now, did you ever have any close mishaps on that sailboat? I know.
The Bristol, I don't recall. Only once in my whole life I got seasick. That was the only episode I remember sailing on the Mac. I went downstairs to have a chicken pot pie and I got seasick. That was the only episode of my life to be seasick. So that sea was that water in Michigan gets pretty rough.
Okay, well, let's move on a little bit to your powerboat experiences, because, I'm a powerboater, and I understand one time you were on a powerboat with some fellas and you were going across Lake Michigan, and all of a sudden the boat started to take on water, right?
Yeah, we were going to New Buffalo, and we thought it would be just a quick trip, and all of a sudden the captain said, "We're taking on water," and he had no idea why. It's something to do with the engine. So then we got the buckets out, and we were starting to bail because we were going down. And then I put my life jacket on because that was the scariest I've ever been in my whole life. I really thought I was going to sink. But we made it by bailing, and we got to New Buffalo, and we all lived.
So let me sort of picture this. You had like buckets, and you were like...
Yeah, we were down in the cabin, and we were taking the buckets, and we had an assembly line of people just dumping the water out again, and came in and dump out, come in and dump out.
So you're telling me the water was into the cabin where people live?
Yes, it was up all the way coming up the stairs, and I was terrified. I won't forget that ever.
Wow.
But thank goodness we made it.
Did you ever go out with those guys again?
Nope. I am so much more comfortable on a sailboat. I feel like I'm safer on a sailboat. So powerboats kind of make me worry now, ever since that experience.
Okay, well, let's fast forward a bit. Judy and I met, I believe it was around Christmas time, 1980. That's quite a while. That was over 35 years ago. And I was out having a Christmas drink with a buddy of mine, who was now her husband, but at the time, you were with another fella, and Jerry and I were having a drink, and you were wearing a summer dress, I believe, in wintertime, and Jerry was very impressed by that.
Oh, let's get over that one.
And anyways, he basically pursued you, and then you got married in, what, about 10 years later or something?
Yes, we got married in 1993 in the Bitter End Yacht Club and Virgin Gorda in the BVI, which was my favorite place in the world. It's just beautiful sailing in the BVI.
Yeah, can we talk a little bit about the bitter end? Isn't it because once you pass that, you're into the open Atlantic?
That's correct. There's something about, there's one or more island and then you're gone.
So if you miss that island, you're headed out to the open Atlantic.
Yeah. Well, we never missed the island.
Well, I had the pleasure of being at that wedding, and we have a couple of pictures here. Let's see here. Show you. Okay. First of all, who's the girl on the piano?
That was me in my $50 wedding dress, and Jerry's playing the piano.
I forgot that. Didn't you go to some like Fayleen's basement?
Yeah.
And you got your wedding dress for $50?
Right. I wasn't going to spend a lot of money on a fancy dancy wedding, so the whole wedding with all 30 guests was under $5,000.
And if I recall, Jerry doesn't know how to play the piano. That was just sort of a stage thing.
That was a funny photo from a movie that we had all seen at the time.
Well, that's a famous one with Harry Truman, with Lauren Bacall in Washington, D.C., where he's playing the piano and Lauren Bacall is stretched
Oh,
over.
you even remember the movie. You're good.
Yeah. Actually, it was a movie that really happened with Harry, and he was a pretty conservative guy. So let's talk some more about some of these pictures. All right. How about this boat at the top? What can you tell me about that?
You know, that's the one you chartered for the wedding, and you were on that for 10 days, and you said it was the best trip of your life.
Yes, and I was with a flotilla of primarily sailboats, and but it was a marine trader. It was a trawler, so it didn't go fast. A very good live-aboard boat, and had a wonderful time. And how about this other? Oh, who's that guy?
That's you 30 years ago. Oh my God.
Yeah.
We're not our youth, as we say nowadays.
Right. And that was with my girlfriend at the time. Yeah. And little did I know, but at the time, I was dying of leukemia.
Yeah, little did you know.
Yeah, I had just taken some regular tests, and I said, I tell you, you're a little anemic, and I didn't think there was anything serious. I didn't make a big deal, but of course it was.
Of course, you're here to talk about it, so we're very happy you recovered.
So that was in '93. By Christmas time '94, I was almost dead. Yeah, that's another long story. But okay, so we have a lot of interesting.
That was a great wedding trip. You even had the best time of your life.
I did.
Yeah.
And your family and your parents came down from the pig farm.
And we had little condos rented for them. They had a great time.
And tell them a little bit of a story about your mom and dad. How old were they? You got married 15 and 16?
Mom and Dad married young. Mother was 15 and Dad was 17. So there were 6 of us in the family, and they're still, thank God, alive and kicking today and living in Minnesota.
Yeah, they're still married after a while. How many years are they married?
71 years, and Mother always says, licenses always expire. You need a license to renew for your drivers and for your passport. How come a marriage license doesn't expire? That was her joke.
Well, the one thing I remember about your wedding, too, you got married up here first to make sure it was totally legal, and all that. But then you got married by this defracked priest. I remember.
You remember
The guy was unbelievable. I mean, he was. It reminded me of like Richard Burton and Liz Taylor, because he had that wife, and we never could quite figure out. But
he was the best dancer at the party, though.
Yeah,
we'll never forget him.
A good-looking guy.
Good-looking, nice priest.
And then afterwards. After the wedding, this wedding went on. How long were we down there? 10 days?
That was a 10-day charter, yeah.
Right. So we got married in the middle. So this wedding just went on. We just kept on having a great old time. And all right. So let's talk about a couple other interesting events. How about, is it Union Island or Union Pier where the boat was getting away and
Union Island in the Grenadines. We had chartered another 50-foot, that was a monohull.
Can I interrupt you? Where are the Grenadines? Our viewers probably don't know.
The Grenadine Islands,
Okay.
the Union Island,
Is that like in the Caribbean?
Tobago Key. It's in the Caribbean, yes.
Okay.
Tobago Key is famous for charter boats to hang out and have a good time. So Tobago Key is like a national park there, and it's beautiful.
Well, Captain Mark and I, we're licensed captains, and we see so much on the water, and we always keep talking about liability and danger and all the crazy things that can happen that you never even anticipate, and you're always having to react to. So from what I understand, you were on this boat that was at anchor, and your better half, Captain Jerry, went into...
Yeah, the guys went in to shore to clear customs. That's the procedure. And so it was me and another girl on the boat just reading our books and enjoying everything, and all of a sudden a big storm comes up, a squall line, and the winds took the anchor and just dislodged it. So the boat was drifting towards the reef. And all of a sudden, I said, I think we're in big trouble. So I told my girlfriend, you have to pull up the anchor so we can start the engine and get away from trouble. Well, she was too weak to pull up the anchor. So I was able, thank God I paid attention to the initial start of the boat, so I was able to start the engine. And then I would go in a circle, around and around.
You mean around the anchor?
Around the anchor, just going in a circle.
Because no one could get the anchor up.
No one could get the anchor up. She couldn't do it.
Now, it sounds like there was a hero to the story.
Thank God. One of the locals on shore saw my predicament. And
a native fellow.
A native guy, yeah. And he comes rushing on his little Zodiac and says, do you need any help? I said, oh, please help me. So he got on board. He pulled up the anchor. He and I took it to a can and re-secured the boat. And we saved the boat from hitting the reef, which would have been an expensive vacation.
And what did Captain Jerry have to say when he finally comes back from shore?
I was so thankful to that local that I gave him a nice tip. I said, oh, thank you for saving us. And as he left the boat, he ran into the other half of our crew, and he told them, I saved your boat. And he got another tip. So he got a double tip that day.
You mean Jerry gave him a tip?
Yeah, Jerry gave him another tip.
Oh, my God, I'm shocked. Oh.
Anyway, it was an experience I won't forget, and I'm so happy that I paid attention to all the details of what you were to know about a...
Well, as a female who's had a lot of experience on the water, what advice would you give to women out there in our viewing audience about getting on a boat?
Don't just take it for granted that you don't have to know anything. Really take the time to learn at least how to start an engine in case your captain becomes ill or something, so you're not stranded by yourself not knowing what to do. Take the responsibility to learn those things about any boat you're on.
Now,
because there's a lot of different ways that boats start up, right?
Right.
I was paying attention to when I took the initial, what they call that, when they brief you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you made a comment, though, earlier, which I sort of found interesting, that you normally don't wear
a life jacket.
A life jacket, a personal float. Is that because you're a super swimmer, or you got really good sea legs?
I don't understand that. I feel comfortable on a sailboat, and I've never been in danger, and so therefore I feel like don't worry about it. I don't know why. I don't worry about it. Of course, when I go snorkeling and everything, I always wear a life jacket. I'm not safe enough to say I can handle that.
Now, do you worry about sharks, man-o'-wars, barracudas, all those other, when you're underwater?
Do you remember when that stupid movie Jaws came out?
Yeah, I remember that movie.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Every time I'm in the water in the BVI, it was always in the back of my mind. So I take off all my rings, because they say barracudas are attracted to shiny things. So you take all your rings off. So it took a little of the fun out.
All right.
But I just came back from the BVI this year, and I am no longer afraid of any of that. I've overcome that fear.
Now, this last trip you went down there, you took Jerry's
Our children, yeah,
children,
and their husband and wives, yeah.
And I didn't hear all the details, but you said it wasn't the best experience with the boat.
Oh, the boat had some issues about safety. It was such a big catamaran that you could not hold on to something when you were moving because the space was too expansive. And they had just done their deck work and spent a lot of money, so they wanted us all to go barefoot on the boat. And we took a couple falls.
I was going to say. Yeah. Oh, my God.
It was dangerous because you get the decks wet, and I got in a slant, and I just went right out, and it hurt. So,
Wow.
and my bunk that I slept in was like 5 feet off the ground, so getting up there every night was not easy for my age.
All right. Now, I used to go down with Judy's husband, Jerry, before they met. And he used to put together a group of people, his friends, who were the corporate guys, and had some pretty good times. And it was first really sort of international water exposure I had. But you went down there one time. I wasn't on this trip, and the trip was just starting. Those trips usually went for like 10 to 14
Yeah,
days.
usually the charters are 10 days.
And you just got there, if I understand the story.
Yeah.
And you were taking the dinghy. The dinghy's the smaller boat, so you have the bigger sailboat that's anchored out in the bay. Then you get on this little dinghy, and then you would go into for like restaurants or rum punches, whatever.
The good stuff, yeah.
So there was a little bit of surf, from what I understand. Tell me the rest
The
of that.
big surf.
The big surf, yeah.
They have like waves that are almost 5 feet high coming in.
So they're rolling onto the beach.
They're rolling onto
So
the
now,
beach.
now you're sort of like surfing on this dinghy,
Yeah,
and it's riding this wave that's crashing onto the beach.
right.
So now what happened?
Now when we're leaving, of course, my husband said, you be careful because that is a very dangerous situation. The dinghy, when it gets on the wave, it comes.
It bounces back up. So it
right.
comes in, rides it down, and then
Then
the
you-
opposite effect comes up like this.
Yeah, so I wasn't paying attention, and all of a sudden the dinghy hits me in the face. And I oh my God, I lost all these caps in front.
Knocked out your front teeth.
Knocked off my caps, and I thought, this is a great way to start a vacation.
Yeah, this was
with
at
no
the
front
start of the
teeth.
vacation, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So the next morning when I wake up, I saw how ugly the whole situation was. But Jerry actually found the caps in the dinghy, and we retrieved them and found a dentist, and he put them back in, and I had a nice time anyway. So it was pure luck.
You found a local dentist.
Yes, we had to search the island for a local dentist.
Wow.
It was an experience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's an example of you just never know what's going to be happening to you, and there's.
It's something you learn the hard way. I hate to say it, but once you make a mistake like that, you are very careful the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So you do learn a good lesson from bad things.
Well, I know in his younger days, Jerry, the corporate guys used to say he got the nickname Captain Crash. I'm not sure how he got that name, but
He never ever damaged a boat in any of his 45 sails through the islands.
well,
He is the best captain I've ever been with.
well, that's good. So, talk about a couple other things. The Chicago Yacht Club, I participated with them on Tuesday for their special needs cruise, and we had several of the news media out there, and it was probably the biggest event ever, and we take out people from the different organizations like Misericordia and St. Mary's. I can't think of all the names, but Yacht Club members donate their boats, and they take them out. We have the support of the Chicago Police Department, Fire Department, and everyone had a great time. And it just warms your heart. You just
It's good you can do that for
Yeah.
the people that are at handicapped. That's so wonderful.
And what amazes me too is the caregivers, the people that work with them, and all that. I mean, these people they're saints. So, as they say, they're saints and sinners. So we're going to talk a little bit about another aspect of Chicago boating, which, I have some experience in, and so do you. And that is the annual Chicago Scene boat party. And it'll be coming up. It's either the end of July or beginning of August, but it's one of the biggest boat parties in the United States, and it occurs over there by the Oak Street Beach area. And we're just going to show you a few clips here. I got to tone it down because the producer said some of the clips are really. So I'm just doing single shots. Let's see here. And these are people. Oops, 1 second here, hold on. Okay, the web PC. There we go, that's better.
Isn't that beautiful?
And look at all those boats, they're all rafted off. People are swimming. People are showing off their six packs, and they're the best swimwear. And as you can see the rafts, you can get an idea of just how massive this party is. And I try to go every year.
Does it make a difference with the weather? Do you get a better turnout if it's a really hot day versus just a normal or a regular cooler day?
Oh yeah, actually, like last year was a great time, and but there have been times when the weather's bad or the winds are high, and they still want to go out because it's sort of like New Year's Eve. It says you don't want to do it, but what's amazing, and as you can see the crowds, you really haven't. There's a guy on one of these. What happens is they run from the jet ski. There's a pump that forces air in, and that's how the guy is like flying on the water.
They do that in Florida all over the place now.
And it's very beautiful, very scenic.
I always say it's like a big New Orleans Mardi Gras party. You got to at least do it once, just for the experience.
Yeah. And amazingly, no one has really ever been injured. The police, have their hands full trying to keep it under control. And what can I say? Now, you've been at that party, what, a couple of times or just?
No, I did it once. Once was an exciting event, but I'm getting a little too old for those happy people out there. But it was a fun event.
It certainly does make you aware of your age when you're with those
when you're with the young 20-year-old, you feel it.
Yeah. So I want to comment on your outfit here. It looks very nautical, and I see you got that
my anchor.
Your anchor. But you said you only wear this thing like once every 5 years or something.
Well, I try to wear it when we go to the Mackinac party at the Chicago Yacht Club. I always love it for just a little touch of fashion.
All right.
You could talk about a whole show of fashion with me. I'd be better at that.
Well, do you ever miss the farm?
Nope, sorry. Can't say I ever have. Missed the farm. I enjoy my life in Chicago for the 3 months I'm here.
Yeah, but you certainly like going back there and visiting everybody.
Yes, I do love my family, of course.
And you do have a wonderful family. I met them, and they're very, very, very nice. So, well, we didn't get any calls. I don't know, but we'll be wrapping up, and I just would like to say, thank you for coming down and
it was my pleasure.
Being an expressing a female viewpoint about the water. And you never desired to become a captain yourself? Get
No,
your own boat?
I don't think that's in my cards anymore. I'm happy with the motorhome life now.
Oh yeah, you got that land lot.
Yeah, we got the land yacht now.
right.
We travel around the country.
Wow. Yeah, you got a pretty good life. Okay, we're signing off. Thank you again for listening to From the Wheelhouse.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure talking with everyone.
Bye-bye.